Hi, I'm Kat, and today I have for you a word in Romanian. We are talking about a true crime case, and I will also be doing my makeup at the same time. So if you guys are new to this channel, this is basically what we are doing here. Because I'm Romanian, I was thinking that perhaps it's a good idea to kind of try and teach you a couple of words in Romanian. So anyway, if you have any particular request as to what you want me to translate, just leave your request in the comment section down below and I will be translating that in my next video. And also, if you do have any case requests, any true crime case that you want me to look at and cover, then again you can leave the suggestions in the comment section down below. So let's get started. The word in Romanian for today is ponei. 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 Well done, guys, you just said pony. This will sound, I have to say, all too familiar yet again. Did you hear about Gabriel Fernandez story? Did you hear about Anthony Avalos? This is just like the same story but a different character, only that it's real life. And it doesn't get more real than the same area, the same DCFS, Child Protective Services, only a few years apart. As soon as he was born, Noah was taken away from his biological parents into care. And for a very good reason, neglect and violence. But even with a court order, Children's Services decided that the best course of action would be, guess what? To simply ignore the order and return Noah to his parents. Just like that, all of a sudden they seem fit. But as it turns out, DCFS signed Noah's death warrant when they did that, because Noah would die a horrific and painful death in the custody of his own biological parents. He would be brutally attacked, sexually assaulted by his own father, and then strangled to death by him. Noah's birth on 20th of August 2014 was quite different from that of his siblings. DCFS took him away at the hospital because they accused his mom, Ursula Juarez, of using an infant half-sister, causing skull fractures. Whilst Ursula was pregnant with Noah, she had the baby sister, 10-month-old Bobby Jean, who suffered a skull fracture while in her care. Within the same month, in 2014, Noah was born. Noah and his siblings were put into foster care, but were repeatedly returned to their parents. So Noah spent his first weeks of life in and out of foster homes before being placed at the San Fernando home of his great-grandmother Eva Hernandez. Noah's parents, Ursula Juarez and Jose Cuatro, felt that Children's Services took away the first few months of Noah's milestones. Noah's mother, Ursula Juarez, first met Jose Cuatro at John F. Kennedy High School in Granada Hills. She gave birth to their first son when she was 18 years old, Noah when she was 20 years old, and another daughter at 23 years old. Yes, I think that now is the right time to say that we are in the US with today's case, in America. Noah formed a really close relationship with his great-grandmother, with Eva, sometimes even calling her mommy. Noah was a handsome, lively, curly-haired baby boy who would bring sunshine everywhere he would go. He loved Spider-Man, ponies, and the animated children's series PJ Masks. He was also excited about going to school. And I wanted to wear something that Noah really liked. And I know that he liked ponies. I didn't have any top with ponies on, but I do have a top on me which is with unicorn. So I think that, this is the next best thing that I have. So I'm hoping that's alright for everyone. When Noah was 9 months old, DCFS couldn't prove the abuse allegations against his mother Ursula, and the juvenile court cleared Noah to live with his parents for the very first time. Now, you need to bear in mind that Noah didn't know his parents. They didn't really bond, considering that he'd been taken away at birth. The only loving relationship really that Noah had was with Eva, his great-grandmother. To Noah, his parents were complete strangers, and I'm going to say this, I think that to his parents, Noah was also a complete stranger. But once under their care, Noah's health took a turn for the worst. Noah would have regular doctor appointments, but after being returned to the care of his parents, he missed 8 appointments over the spring and summer of 2016. This led to Kaiser Permanente, the health insurance company, to get in touch with Los Angeles County's child hotline reporting possible neglect. Ursula actually blamed the missed appointments on insurance problems, but the social worker was actually able to confirm that Noah always had medical coverage, and the social worker became quite concerned. A 2-year-old Noah was 17 pounds or 7 kilograms, and he only gained a few ounces from February 2015 to October 2016. His muscles were deteriorating and he wasn't able to walk. Because of this, he was placed in the first percentile for 2-year-old boys. Jennifer Montanto was the social worker on Noah's case at the time. She said that Noah appeared very, very thin and his eyes were hollow. Ursula, his mother, would say that Noah ate too much and because of that, he would vomit, and so that's the reason why he wasn't gaining weight. Seeing Noah's condition and the parents' neglect as well, caseworkers obtained a removal warrant for the second time. In foster care and later at Bidia's house, a facility in the San Gabriel Valley for medically fragile children, Noah gained several pounds and the digestive problems that his mother insisted on seemed to just have vanished. During his stay at the Pomona facility, Noah's development improved significantly. He wasn't quite there, but he was almost there. Where before he couldn't walk, now he was even able to run around, sliding on the slide, and he would even call himself No-No, according to the administrator at Bithia's house, Michelle Thompson. She remembered him as such a sweet boy with a wild mop of brown hair. Noah went back to live with his great-grandmother Eva. She remembers him as a bright little boy who even enticed those in the waiting room at the doctor's office into singing Old MacDonald. You know, Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Oh my God. Every day Noah would tell Eva, Grandma, you know what time it is? It's time for you to hold me and tell me you love me. But Noah's parents wanted Noah back. Ursula said that she would never intentionally starve him and complained that DCFS caused her to miss the first 9 months of Noah's life. She just wanted to be one big family again. To reunite Noah with his parents, the court allowed supervised visits, then weekend stays. But the days before and after visiting Ursula and Jose, Noah would wet the bed. He would cry and scream for 45 minutes straight, begging to stay with his great-grandmother. Noah would tell Lisbeth Hernandez Avilles, the caseworker, that he doesn't want to go to his parents. The caseworker eventually demoted herself within DCFS, citing how very stressful Noah's case was, among other factors. Eva Hernandez, the great-grandmother, expressed concerns to DCFS that a permanent return to his parents would be catastrophic for Noah. By late 2018, Noah lived apart from his parents for almost 2 years. His health improved significantly. He was at the appropriate height and the appropriate weight for his age, and the doctors were just thrilled with Noah's progress. Eva pleaded for Noah to just stay with her. His parents never bonded with him, and Eva believed that was the reason why they were treating Noah the way that they did. Noah didn't want to leave Eva's house. This is my home. Grandma and Grandpa love me, he told a DCFS worker. DCFS also opposed him going to live with Ursula and Jose. Susan Johnson, the caseworker who took over Noah's case, told the juvenile court commissioner Stephen Ibsen that the parents didn't fully comply with visitation and they didn't participate in therapy with Noah despite a court order telling them to do so. But Ibsen, the court commissioner, said that he saw substantial progress by the parents and decided to send Noah back to them. He imposed mandatory therapy and visits with Eva Hernandez mainly to prevent further harm from occurring. In 2018, after Noah turned 4 years old, he told the caseworker that his parents' home was a sad house because they get angry and they yell. When Susan took over from Lisbeth warned her that Noah was the target child in that home. The parents were liars, which was obvious from DCFS records and testimonies. They lied about Noah having medical coverage, they lied about where they lived, and they even lied about 2 pregnancies. Susan was advised to conduct unannounced visits to see if the parents were hiding something. But Noah's parents seemed to block those visits according to the CFS records. Susan couldn't access the family's apartment complex in North Hills or Ursula, who at the time was a manager in training at a nearby McDonald's. She tried to reach Jose as well, who at the time was an occasional construction worker, because they would claim to either be at the mall or out of town or otherwise just unavailable. When Susan finally made it inside that apartment, she saw that Noah and his siblings didn't even have their own beds, and the parents ignored the conditions imposed by the juvenile court. Noah, 4 years old at the time, had not seen his great-grandmother, nor did he attend preschool or therapy. In March 2019, Susan went to an apartment where Ursula and Jose claimed to be living. Jose's sister answered the door and said that her brother and his kids didn't live there for at least 4 months. Jose's mother, Nubia Barrios, said that the family occasionally stayed there, and even she said that she was worried about the children. Noah was always hungry, according to Jose's mother, and she also worried about the kids not being in school. In April 2019, Maggie Hernandez, an aunt on the other side of Noah's family, made an anonymous call to the hotline. She reported concerns that Noah's butt hurts and Ursula wasn't feeding him. Quote, "If he's vocalizing something's wrong and he's having night terrors," she said, "I feel like something's going on." End of quote. Susan, the caseworker, rushed to see Noah, and she spotted marks on his right arm and neck. His left arm had a big bruise, and freshly applied lotion covered his back. Ursula said that the cream was actually for eczema, but Susan was suspicious because she couldn't quite see Noah's skin. Managing to get alone with Noah, Susan asked him what happened when he would do something wrong. Noah would say he gets hit, but he then seemed quite startled, like not expecting those words to come out of his mouth. And when Susan pressed him for more details, he changed his mind and said that he doesn't get hit. Feeling that perhaps Noah was being coached on what to say, Susan asked him the same question, and he again said about being hit, and then again said that he wasn't being hit. On May the 9th, less than 2 months before Noah passed away, Susan told the juvenile court that many concerns have arisen from the family. She said that the parents were isolating Noah, that it was nearly impossible to assess his well-being, and that she wanted the juvenile court to order the parents to receive mental health examinations. The same day, Susan and her immediate supervisor had a meeting with a senior administrator at the Lancaster office, Shannon O'Brien. Susan did it because she was really concerned about Noah's safety. The parents still didn't comply with court-ordered therapy. They were not quickly responding to Noah's medical needs, and Noah seemed coached during their visits. Noah's mother also texted Susan a photo of Noah's back without the cream on, which appeared to show bruising. Asked if it was time to take away Noah for the 3rd time, Shannon, the senior administrator, told Susan to just go and get a warrant. The task of investigating Noah's aunt Maggie's allegations of potential neglect and abuse fell to Maggie Vasquez Ducos. Susan remained the caseworker in charge of long-term services. Just like Susan, Maggie Vasquez also visited Noah and his family. Ursula said that Noah's bruising on his back happened when he fell off the bunk bed and hit himself on the wood. Knowing that a new person from DCFS became involved, Ursula quickly took the opportunity to complain about the agency, and more specifically to complain about Susan. "Why would we hurt our baby when we just got him back?" Noah's mother said. "I have had this case open for 4 years, and I have been told I'm good enough to only have my 2 kids, but not Noah. How does that make sense? I don't trust the department." Noah denied any kind of abuse, but then again, I'm thinking to myself, how would they have approached Noah at 4 years old about abuse? because how would he understand what exactly meant and that it wasn't quite normal? I mean, this is just like a, a question that I'm wondering myself really. A medical exam found it plausible that the blue and yellow bruises on Noah's back and arms could have come from falling off the bunk bed. So the new caseworker, Maggie Vasquez, along with her supervisor, concluded the findings as inconclusive. What a surprise. During this investigation, Maggie Vasquez tried to contact Noah's grandfather, but she was unsuccessful. But it's not known if she tried to reach any other relatives. Text messages uncovered after Noah's death show that at the time relatives were expressing concerns within the family about Noah. Quote, "At the end of the day, I know what's going on isn't right, and deep down inside there's truth to the mistreatment of Noah," said Ursula's sister's boyfriend in a text message. Ursula's sister assumed that Jose had something against Noah, and that's why he was so aggressive. Quote, "When he kills that kid, don't come crying to me because we told you so," she said. I'm not quite sure who she said it to, unless she either said it to Children's Services or possibly her own sister Ursula. At the same time, Susan worked with LA County lawyers to file the petition to remove Noah from the home. Ibsen, you remember him, the juvenile court commissioner, granted the order to take Noah away from his parents and have him undergo a medical or abuse exam. But, as it turns out, that never happened. As Ibsen was examining the request to remove Noah, Susan's colleagues at the DCFS office in Lancaster started kind of questioning if this kind of measure was really necessary. The new caseworker, Maggie Vasquez, believed there was not enough evidence of danger to require taking Noah away. She also said that Noah's parents felt harmed and misunderstood by DCFS and told her supervisor that Susan, the other caseworker, was harassing them. Just like Ursula, Noah's mother, Maggie Vasquez started to view Susan as biased in assessing the family. Her supervisor echoed this view in a private email to one of the administrators of the Lancaster office. Quote, "Maggie Vasquez Duco feels like this stuff might be untrue and that the extended family and even Susan Johnson may have an agenda." End of quote. It's ultimately up to DCFS chain of command to take a direction forward, and they sided with Maggie Vasquez Ducos, which meant that Susan's concerns were ignored. The court order granting removal of Noah was not executed, therefore there was no medical or exam done on Noah. Susan Johnson, the primary advocate for removal, felt that the time had passed for Noah's parents to work through their problems while the boy suffered. But when she tried to speak in a meeting with colleagues in the Lancaster office, a supervisor even elbowed her to just remain quiet. At some point, she interjected that she didn't want a dead kid on her watch. A top administrator at the Lancaster office, Nancy Bryden, decided to put a stop to the removal. She also wanted Susan Johnson, a black woman, replaced with a Spanish-speaking caseworker, but it wasn't clear why. Noah, his parents and siblings are all Latino, but they speak English. Only one person in the extended family spoke Spanish with very limited English. According to testimony and DCFS records, the final reason for keeping Noah with his mother and father was something of a contradiction. A new allegation of abuse and domestic violence came in from Noah's great-grandmother, Eva Hernandez, so leaders wanted that investigated as well. Susan was instructed to withdraw the petition for a removal warrant, but it was too late by this point. The court had already signed it. Even so, the supervisor instructed Susan to refrain from carrying out Noah's removal. Susan vented in an email to her immediate supervisor who was on vacation. Quote, "They seem to not believe that my concerns are valid." End of quote. The following day, she wrote a note of protest to a senior supervisor expressing disagreement with keeping Noah at home. Shannon O'Brien, who had previously urged removal, replied, that there was more investigatory work that needs to be done. Susan Johnson elevated her concerns to a regional administrator who oversaw the office's staff. 5 days after the commissioner issued his order to remove Noah, Maggie Vasquez traveled to the family's new apartment in Palmdale. Lisbeth Hernandez, the social worker to whom Noah said that he didn't want to return home, also joined Maggie Vasquez. They found that Noah had an injury on his upper cheek, and there were 3 different explanations of what happened. Ursula said that the kids were rubbing a salty ice cube on him at a birthday party. Noah claimed it was just a bug bite. Jose then reminded Noah, quote, "Remember you fell, we took you to the doctor and they gave us ointment," end of quote. During the visit, Noah randomly ran up to Lisbeth, having known her previously, saying that they feed him a lot and that they take good care of him and that they loved him. She later wrote in her notes that many of the child's responses throughout the visit appeared to be coached. The DCFS team had another meeting in late May to review Noah's case. By then, Maggie Vasquez Ducos interviewed some relatives and almost all of them denied any abuse happening. During the discussion, Maggie Hernandez shared concerns about Noah, but colleagues favored a meeting between Noah's parents and DCFS, not taking him away. Asked about the injury Noah showed on his cheek, the conflicting accounts, and why this didn't raise red flags, Maggie said that supervisors seemed inclined to think the parents would lie because of their history with DCFS. Social workers have 10 days to take children from their homes after a commissioner issues a removal order. Otherwise, they must inform the court. But by mid-June, the final full month that Noah spent alive, 29 days had passed and no one ever told the juvenile court that he remained with his parents. In email, colleagues across DCFS chain of command expressed confusion about who was responsible for the case and struggled to explain why no one removed Noah. Susan Johnson was the one that had to explain to the juvenile court why there was no update, and she said that she could only do what she was told to do at work. She told Ibsen that there was another allegation of abuse of Noah and domestic violence which required further investigating, so that was why the order was not carried out, which doesn't really make sense because if you think about it, shouldn't you remove a child with a serious allegation like this as a precaution whilst you're investigating? Susan also told Ibsen that an allegation of neglect was only recently substantiated and the recent assessment showed very high risk for abuse and neglect. But there was a new development in that household. Susan also informed the court that Ursula had just given birth to another baby boy. The details of his birth were left out of the update to the court. At the Kaiser Hospital in Panorama City, Ursula had claimed to be a surrogate despite lacking any paperwork to back that up. She received no prenatal care and even tried to sneak out of the hospital. Nazeli Oglukian, a Kaiser social worker who had previously called the CFS about Ursula and about her children, alerted the agency. Maggie Vasquez traveled to the hospital and was told that the results of Kaiser's psychiatric exam indicated that Ursula showed traits of a sociopath. Nazeli was worried by Ursula's contradictory accounts of her pregnancy, but Kaiser concluded that Ursula was not suicidal, homicidal, or in a state of psychosis. Maggie Vasquez consulted with her supervisor, and exactly a month before Noah's death, DCFS allowed Ursula to go home with a newborn baby. Briefed on the developments in Noah's case, Ibsen granted DCFS 30 more days to take a deeper look at the family. He also requested an interview with Eva Hernandez, who was Noah's great-grandmother. As June continued, it appeared that no one in the Lancaster office was designated to replace Susan Johnson as the coordinator of services and decisions in the case. As it turns out, Susan was fired from her job. Talk about speaking up, right? You have now someone who sees something, they say something, they try to do something, and they are being fired instead of the other colleagues trying to make sure that they do everything that they can to safeguard Noah. Yet Susan, who was trying to help him, genuinely help him, she's being fired from her job. So this just shows you that even if you are a social worker and you are trying to speak up and help, genuinely help in a real danger, you are fired. You can't, even if you want to, you can't do it. Maddie Vasquez was tasked with being the caseworker, and she said that she would try to see Noah, but her relationship to the family was kind of breaking apart. Ursula was threatening her, and she wasn't happy at all with her. She didn't even know if Ursula would even allow her to see the children. Despite the allegations of sexual for which DCFS policy requires a forensic exam and the court ordering a medical or sexual abuse exam, none had occurred. One supervisor, Robinson Moody, told Maggie Vasquez that she would highly recommend a forensic exam. However, this didn't really seem necessary to Maggie. She said in an email that a forensic exam taken 2 months prior showed normal findings, even though the exam just found that it was plausible how Noah got those bruises from the bunk bed. Maggie went on to say that there were no allegations of sexual abuse, relatives and witnesses reported no concerns. However, she didn't mention the reports from both sides of Noah's family who shared concerns with Susan and even the child hotline. Maggie Vasquez Ducos completed what would be her final visit to Noah on June 28, 2019. Investigators are trained to interview children alone and record details of the conversations. However, her notes don't show one-on-one interview, but Noah said that he enjoyed swimming and he appeared well in spirits, according to the case notes. When Maggie tried to confirm the date for a long delayed meeting between the parents and DCFS, Jose Cuatro, the father, was dismissive, saying they didn't want any further involvement with the agency. By early July, the final week of Noah's life, the focus of DCFS scrutiny had changed from Noah's parents to those who believed that he was in danger. A finding of Maggie's investigation showed that Susan was biased towards Noah's family, and the only area of great concern was Ursula's mental health, according to an email. Eva Hernandez, Noah's great-grandmother, who was a source of stability and affection in Noah's life, was blamed for causing Susan to have doubts with the family. Ursula and Jose, Noah's parents, were being portrayed as victims of DCFS. In a July the 3rd email, Maggie described the parents as overwhelmed and just done dealing with them. She even said that she felt like, as a department, they have been picking on the family. Oh my god, this is just unbelievable for a social worker to say that. It's just completely, it's beyond frustrating. On July the 5th, just 2 days after that email was being sent, a neighbor at the Mountain Shadows apartment in Palmdale walked by the Cuatro's family apartment and heard a child crying, "No, Daddy, no, Mommy." After 6 p.m. on that same day, Jose and Ursula made frantic calls to 911. They reported that Noah had been swimming in the pool and stopped breathing. Almost immediately, police and paramedics grew suspicious.
Now to an Eyewitness News investigation, new video and frantic calls to 911 after the death of 4-year-old Noah Cuatro last summer. Noah's parents told police the boy drowned in a swimming pool, but according to grand jury testimony just released, the parents staged a scene to derail investigators. Our Miriam Hernandez has the story you're seeing first on Eyewitness News.
You're gonna have to go faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1.
The 911 call. 4-year-old Noah Cuatro unconscious on the living room floor. His parents telling first responders they had just pulled him from the swimming pool.
We brought him upstairs because we were trying to get him. We were trying to think like maybe he'll wake up.
Where are you at right now?
His head is that way.
Where?
Right
in
here.
the house.
In the house, yeah, in the house.
We're in the house.
In the living room.
Okay, so you're in the living room.
And I laid down.
Noah's father, Jose Cuatro, reenacting his desperate CPR attempts at their Palmdale apartment on July 5th last year.
And I was just like, Noah, come on, son, please, breathe.
Their story soon unraveled. Jose Cuatro and Noah's mother, Ursula Juarez, are charged with the torture and murder of Noah. The case has the Department of Children and Family Services under fire too. Just 8 weeks before Noah's death, a DCFS worker, Susan Johnson, had obtained a judge's order to remove Noah from his home, but Johnson's supervisors intervened. Noah died in a home DCFS itself had deemed high risk. A deputy responding to the 911 call describes how in the hospital the parents' lies were exposed.
He was transported to the hospital, no signs of drowning at all, no water in the lungs, but there's signs of physical and sexual.
What doctors and the coroner did find were bruises all over, healing rib fractures, brain swelling, and injuries consistent with sexual assault. Cause of death, asphyxiation, and blunt force trauma.
It's looking like there's some sort of like strangulation of some sort and strangulation.
Noah and his siblings had been in and out of foster care. Prosecutors allege Jose Cuatro targeted Noah, believing the boy was not his son. That at age 2, back with the parents, Noah weighed 17 pounds and could not walk on his own. Noah's mother sent a chilling text message. Almost killed him so many times. I had to do CPR for him to wake up and stay alive, right? A check of security cameras at the pool showed no sign of Noah or his family that day. And about the frantic effort to revive Noah, there's evidence that Noah was unconscious hours before the parents called 911.
Quote, things were just not adding up to what the father had already told us, that this child is down in a pool for over 30 minutes and all of a sudden now he's dry with a pair of tan shorts that were not wet. End of quote, said firefighter paramedic Chad Sullivan. Noah's body also showed mottling around his neck, which is a sign of strangulation. Ursula expressed disbelief while Jose kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. In the emergency room, Detective Susan Velasquez found Noah with bruises across his chest, arms and legs with a large mark on his forehead. Quote, you knew in your heart that there was something more that he couldn't tell us, that his body was telling us a story and we needed to figure out what was going on. End of quote, she said. Doctors and nurses rushed to revive Noah, first in the emergency room at Palmdale Regional Medical Center and then later at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. Sadly, no family members made it to his bedside. Dr. John Markham said he joined a group of doctors and nurses who held his hands in his final moments. Quote, we were with him as he left the earth, Dr. John Markham said. Noah was sadly pronounced dead on July the 6th, 2019 at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. A responding deputy relayed the doctor's findings to a DCFS hotline social worker. Quote, he was transported to the hospital, no signs of drowning at all, no water in the lungs, but there is signs of physical and sexual abuse. Deputy Jordan Haig could be heard saying on the call. Dr. Carol Berkowitz, a UCLA pediatrician, said that Noah had so many injuries but concluded that Noah died from suffocation. She also found rib fractures that happened at least 2 weeks before he died, possibly even longer. It takes significant force to fracture them, especially to fracture so many ribs, to fracture them and to fracture them on both sides. Dr. Lawrence Anguan, an LA County medical examiner, found bony deposits on a few of Noah's ribs, showing all the fractures that had since healed. This would be considered chronic injury. Experts also found trauma on Noah's rectum but couldn't determine what penetrated him. According to the autopsy, Noah died of asphyxiation and blunt force trauma. The coroner found healing rib fractures and sexual trauma consistent with sodomization, including a liver laceration. After Noah's death, authorities uncovered text messages between the parents suggesting physical around this time.
We do get a glimpse into this case through these documents. Now, the state is required to release information and documents whenever there are contacts between the agency, the Department of Children and Family Services, and the families involved in these. That's what we got today. A lot of redactions, but a lot of information in between them.
This 117-page group of documents details the heartbreaking roadmap of 4-year-old Noah Cuatro's short and tragic life. We see that Noah was taken away from his parents even before he had a name. It was August 21st, 2014, the day he was born, when records show he was placed in protective custody. The child baby boy is at threat of physical abuse, the documents go on to say. Another comment adds, one or more children will likely be in danger of immediate or serious harm. He would soon be reunited with his family, and from there, records show a long list of allegations of abuse and neglect involving Noah and his 3 brothers and sisters, dating from before he was born until the day he died. There are allegations of domestic violence. The father drinks and beats the mother in front of the children, one person reported, and sometimes he throws the mother and children out onto the street. This risk assessment, dated less than a month before Noah died, notes there had been 2 prior abuse investigations, one open Child Protective Services case, prior substantiated physical abuse of a child, current neglect, physical and or emotional abuse of a child going on inside Noah's home, and a staff person comments there are current concerns for the mother's mental health. The report's conclusion, neglect risk level very high, abuse risk level very high, final risk level very high. Despite these ominous findings, Noah was not placed into protective custody, not this time, and 18 days later, he died. The Department of Children and Family Services aren't commenting on this case because investigations are underway, including a homicide investigation by the Sheriff's Department. But in July, DCFS Director Bobby Cagle had this to say about his investigation into how Noah Cuatro's case was handled.
There are some red flags that I want answers on in the case, and we're working on that right now.
Prosecutors say that on July the 5th, 2019, Noah soiled his shorts, which angered his father, who then beat and suffocated Noah and allegedly sexually abused him. Prosecutors alleged that Jose Cuatro targeted Noah because he believed he wasn't his biological son. A DNA test conducted through the autopsy found evidence that Noah was indeed his biological son. A physician who examined Noah testified that Noah had no indication of drowning, his hair was dry, and there was no water in his lungs. A child abuse expert also confirmed what initial attending physicians first reported, a tear and active bleeding coming from Noah's behind. Ursula's sister Stephanie Juarez admitted that she lied to the caseworker who was investigating abuse. She also said that she should have done more. Yeah, I mean, anyone can say that in hindsight. Deputy District Attorney John Hatami, who dealt with Gabriel Fernandez and Anthony Avalos as well, called several DCFS workers who worked on Noah's case, including Maggie Vasquez Ducos and her supervisor Blind. None of the high-ranking DCFS administrators testified in the following trial. The county and DCFS put a lot of roadblocks in front of me. Even the ones I called to testify were difficult to get into court, Hatami said. Asked if a physician ever performed a sexual exam on Noah, which was part of the commissioner's order to take him away, Maggie responded no. Both acknowledged that they didn't actually even read Susan's 26-page filing to the juvenile court to remove Noah, even though they opposed the filing. It goes without saying that the prosecutor Hatami was just stunned by this. They didn't follow a removal order, which they didn't even read. They only read this order after Noah passed away. Maggie Hernandez dialed Los Angeles County Child Hotline on a spring afternoon in 2019. She said that her niece's son Noah was losing weight and had thinning hair. During an overnight stay with a relative, Noah had night terrors and complained that his butt was hurting, perhaps a sign of a rash or she said. Above all, Noah had changed from a cheerful boy to a fearful one. Noah's parents, 28-year-old Jose Maria Cuatro and 26-year-old Ursula Elaine Juarez, have been charged with murder and child abuse in the case. The couple have pleaded not guilty to the charges. They were indicted in January 2020 on 1 count each of murder and torture in their son's death. The indictment also charges the boy's father with 1 count each of assault on a child causing death and sexual penetration of a child under 10 years of age, with the indictment alleging that the latter crime occurred on the same day that the boy was attacked. The boy's mother was additionally charged with 1 count of child under circumstances likely to cause death. Both had been held since their arrest in September 2019. Bail is set at $4 million for Jose Cuatro and $3 million for Ursula Juarez. If convicted and charged, Jose Cuatro faces a possible maximum sentence of 47 years to life in state prison, and Ursula Juarez could face up to 32 years to life in prison. It's not yet known when they will be back in court for sentencing. Noah's great-grandmother remains frustrated and saddened, replaying her memory of the last time she saw Noah and his parting words. Quote, "Never forget me." End of quote. If they listened to the court order, he would still be alive, Eva Hernandez said through tears. He was such a beautiful little guy. I hate the things that happened to him. End of quote. The relatives of Noah filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Los Angeles County. His great-grandmother, Evangelina Hernandez, brought the case in July 2020 on behalf of herself and the boy's sister and two brothers, all minors. Hathaway Sycamore's Child and Family Services was named as an additional defendant but was dismissed from the case in January by Judge Peter A. Hernandez. The suit alleged Hathaway Sycamores knew of or suspected the abuse and misconduct occurring in Noah's home after the boy was sent to the agency by the County Department of Children and Family Services for Mental Health Services, but failed to report the abuse. After Noah's death, DCFS social workers made threats against Eva Hernandez, Noah's great-grandmother, in an attempt to silence her, according to the lawsuit. They told her that if she made any public statements about Noah's case and or potential lawsuits, she would lose her request for guardianship of her other three great-grandchildren and would never see them again. During the private viewing at Noah's funeral, civil rights activist Naji Ali led a silent protest because Noah's parents allegedly banned his great-grandmother Eva Hernandez from attending the funeral because of the allegations of child abuse that she made. And this is the tragic and horrific story of Noah Cuatro, who was only 4 years old when he was killed at the hands of his own father by strangulation. He was also sexually assaulted, and of course he was also abused by his mother, abused by both of his parents. DCFS, Child Protective Services, again did nothing and allowed Noah's death to happen. If they would have only executed that court order, Noah would still be alive today. And you see, when you have a social worker who is trying to help Noah, she's getting fired, and it's very unfair, and it truly is tragic because Noah's life could have been saved. Please guys, do let me know what do you think in the comment section down below. If you are interested in any of the makeup that I use for today's look, all of the products are linked in the description down below. I do take case suggestions, and by all means you can leave a comment down below on any case that you want me to cover, and I will cover it for you. I think that the easiest way is to just leave a comment and let me know the cases that you want to see next, as I'm always interested in them. And for now, take care, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!